destination than your little spirit playing a golden harp on a cloud. I'll tell you that shit. But that's not subjective infinity. Subjective infinity is a whole different way of looking at infinity that we will not escape, that we will be subjected to, right? And that's what we were catching on to and saying about heaven and hell, but we were fooling ourselves and how it works. And so the lawyers will not escape, and me, the rhetoricians, we will not escape either. Nobody will escape, right? It's because it's you. Can you escape you? Can't escape you. The best you can hope for is that you fade away and go senile and get Alzheimer's and forget all the memories that ever were you, and then you forget you, and then you won't have to experience heaven or hell. Heaven and hell. You don't go to one or the other. You get both and everything in between, right? But the only way out is if you forget who you are, and then that's its own type of hell, isn't it? A hell on earth, right? Where you just fade away and forget who you are. That sucks. So no matter what, it's not going to be pleasant, right? It's going to be interesting. Well, it can be pleasant. There'll be moments of pleasure because your life had moments of pleasure. But just be careful, because most people this is sad, because most people's lives were not filled with pleasure. Most people's actual daily existence, the thing they're conditioning their eternity with, let's put it that way, you condition your eternity, right? You brainwash your eternity, right? When I sometimes say that I've found a way to love myself now, to truly, like, my subconscious, I can tell it's not some conscious thing. It's that I know my subconscious is on my side now, right? It's not working against me so much, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a whole other person in you, a God in you, right?
Yeah.
So it sometimes does work against you, right? But mostly it's working for me now, right? It's on my side. A lot of people's subconscious are working against them, and
Well, they have no relationship.
that's what they're brainwashing. That's because they're conditioning they're conditioning their eternity to be that way too. If every day of their life they feel and you know what I mean, and they're not happy with their existence, and they're not happy with their relationships, and they're not happy with their job, and they're not happy with their skill levels and intelligence and everything, right? And this is most people. This isn't, what's sad is this isn't the exception. This is the standard, right? This is most people, what they bought into, saying, well, I got to be a functional member of society, and so I guess the payback, right? Well, okay, like, that's what they did for their eternity, and there's no way out of it. And what sucks is this is not a fairy tale, like, and they think because they prayed, oh, it's the saddest part. This is why this book, in a certain way, is really evil sometimes, because they think that if they pray, they're going to get all the good stuff in heaven, and it can work. But it only works if their subconscious has bought into it, and when they pray, they truly are escaping and feeling good, right? If they're praying, but they're like Mrs. Mason, but then their whole actual day is like and I feel so bad, and I hate everything so much, and everybody, right? Like, that's the truth of what they're going to experience, not the praying. The praying won't do much, right?
Yeah.
It might kick in, but only in the way where, now I'm just going off on major. You will have a compassionate, what I like to call it, right, in this theory, it's called the compassionate savior mechanism, right? The compassionate savior mechanism. And it's basically, Freud might liken it to some extension of the superego. What it basically is, that probably didn't help you much. What it basically is it's all the higher notions that you do, that your subconscious does believe in, right? It's all those higher notions. Now here's the weird thing though. It can be, what that book tries to condition you is when you're going through let's call it like this, like when you're peaking on LSD, right? Now imagine if that peak were 100 times more powerful than the most peaky peak you've ever had, right? Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Like 100 times more powerful, right?
Yeah.
And you're just, you're flooded, you're washed in it. You can't control it, right? It's washing over you, tidal waving over you.
Yeah.
Unless maybe you've practiced lucid dreaming enough. That's the key too. But if you haven't practiced lucid dreaming enough, what will probably happen is that when you can't deal with it, when you have to give up, if you've been conditioned in your waking world enough, you will have a compassionate savior mechanism come in and help you.
Are you talking about when you die, right?
Yeah. Well, when you're in the process of dying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you've done enough of that, then it will probably be Jesus, right? Jesus will be all the things that are good that you put into a symbol that can come and then help you.
Yeah.
Right? If you haven't, it might be your mother or your father, right?
Yeah.
It might be your It might be your. Oh my God! Imagine for all the people that took the Kool-Aid in the compound, that their compassionate savior mechanism was most likely Jim Jones, right? But it's not. It's not the Jim Jones of Jim Jones. It's the Jim Jones that their subconscious has made to present to them. It's all the best of Jim Jones, basically, right? It's the best of Jim Jones, right? Yeah, that went pretty far out there. So we'll stop there.
Do you think there's any relationship to like imagination and memory? Like, do you think that
it's all the same thing?
Do you think like imagination is a product of like memory? Yeah, I guess. So.
No, you're just getting caught up now in the like logic bullshit.
Well, I'm like,
it's a dial. On one end of the dial, it seems more like you're having a memory. On the other end of the dial, it seems like you're having a vision. Right.
But a memory can be based off of like something that actually happened. And imagination can be like made up, like anything that comes to your mind.
Imagination, same as memory, can only be based on what's actually happened. Think of the color flurb. You've never experienced it? Well, I guess you can't imagine it, right?
Yeah.
You can only imagine what you've experienced, just like you can only remember. But
with the imagination, though, with the imagination, you can
and then here's even worse,
you can bring things together.
That now start to realize they're both the same thing.
Naturally,
it's better to think of them both as the same thing, but just different ends of the dial. So memory, every person who's ever had to deal with it, to watch a detective show, memory is usually half imagination. Can you describe the person? I don't know. They kind of look like, mostly they're just trying to fill in the gaps with imagination, right? They're trying their best not to. But memory, right? Remember this experience you had. You might tell it to, Liz, and then Liz says, no, that's not how I remember it, right? It's because imagination is playing such a vast part in it. And then imagination, like I already proved real simply, imagination can only build off memory. Can't imagine. What it does is it collages shit, though, really
That's
cool.
what I'm saying. Like, it's like imagination is like a product of memory in a sense. Like, it can be. Like, the extremes of imagination. No. One is not a product of the other. They're both a product of experience. That's all you could say that could be factual about that. I guess that's true. Yeah.
No, there wasn't really done because that was a good attempt, but I've studied into this. This is near and dear to me stuff. And so all you can talk about is the experience has to happen before you can either process it through memory or imagination, which are both involve all the same stuff basically, right? What's the difference between, it says it in the Mad Tea Party chapter, what's the difference between faith and fantasy? It's only the amount of emotion you invest in a concept. That's it. Watch. I believe in big purple dragons that rule the universe. Whatever, dude. I believe in a guy who has a long beard and a flowing white robe who rules the universe. Oh yeah, that's Yahweh. I understand you. I put the emotions to believe in that. Yeah. Otherwise, the purple dragon, I put the emotion of I scoff it.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Was it the logic? Was it the truth? It was just the emotions that you put into something. Oh, that fucks. No Christian likes to hear. No religious person likes to hear that. Right? Like,
well, then there's
the truth, though.
Yeah, but then there's also the argument of shit that actually happened, and then the imagination of a purple dragon that is just in your head that you can't really say you experienced.
We didn't see some guy in the clouds ruling the universe.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, like back.
And we have seen purple dragons.
Supposedly, though, in the Old Testament, they did.
History's full of purple dragons. Right? It is. It's full of dinosaurs.
Yeah, but not like with wings that can fly and like.
Yes, pterodactyls, and now we know there's so many. There was thousands of different versions of pterodactyls, right?
Yeah, but I mean like.
No, you're trying. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
No, how does the Bible make it more real?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying they make it real, but supposedly if
guys with
it's
wings,
real,
come on, guys with wings,
yeah.
Guys with wings. How's that any more real than a purple dragon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Guys with wings, because it does actually say guys with wings, right? It says it when Jacob sees the people up and down the ladder, they're guys with wings, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty purple dragon, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're rocket.
At least you can say when they talked about centaurs back in the day, what they were probably experiencing was tribes that had never even seen a horse, and then all of a sudden they see a guy on top of a horse, and their minds can't figure out how to assimilate that data, so what they see is a hybrid between a guy and a horse.
Yeah.
Right? It's weird to understand how we process data if we met it for the first time, because we live in a world where we might never run into any type of data for the first time. We never factor that into how stupid we are. We never do that. There was, there was all sorts of epochs of history. Most of history is mankind was experiencing shit they never experienced before, right? They hadn't seen it before.
Yeah, it's true.
A new plant, a new animal, a new like geographic location, a new thing, all sorts of, But we've seen it all, right? What thing have we not seen? See what I mean? What thing have we not seen? We've even looked billions of years into the past and seen dinosaurs and everything else. Well, hundreds of millions, right? Maybe billions too, actually. But see what I mean? We've even seen that, right? What haven't we seen? Because of our goofy imaginations, we've made up so many weird monsters, and gods know too. On the earth, right? Pretty much seen it all. Now, I'm putting it this way. Do you think you'll ever run into something in your life that you haven't seen? Have you run into anything in your life yet that you haven't seen? You know what I mean? Have you?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends between picture and real life or whatever. I mean, yeah, I guess you could see like an interpretation of like a whale or something like that, or like a...
It wouldn't surprise you. You might go like, cool, I got to see one now in real life, but you wouldn't be like, what is that?
Well, it's already known. Yeah, I know.
Like,
I get what you're saying.
Whale.
Yeah.
And what's even weirder is, because I've seen whale watching. Whale watching sucks.
But what about...
So you see some little nothing, and what's even stranger is your imagination sees way more of the whale and knows way more of the whale than what you actually get to see. Right? That's even weirder too.
Well, I mean, like, I think people still have experiences of thinking they thought of something like original just because they didn't know, like, it had already been thought of, And so it is somewhat like a new first thing to them before they actually realize it's already been thought of.
We're just talking about concepts, though. So I'm just saying, like, real life stuff, like real experiences. Yeah. Concepts, the same thing. Yeah. Do you think those people really do think they came up with it for the first time? I have to question everything I ever say that I really
I think some people believe it because they're ignorant and they just don't know about it,
Yeah. I want to agree with you. And then part of me is like, sometimes I wonder how much people just lie to themselves. And they know, right? Like when they go like, I'm the greatest, some part of them must know a little bit because they must have been given a couple little hints here and there. Hey, maybe you're not the greatest, right? But they said, I'm the greatest. And maybe they just lie to themselves and they go, well, that's the image I need to present though.
Yeah.
Right? And they're never going to admit that to you because they're not that real of a person. And so they care more about their branding.
Yeah.
And then they do about their soul. Right?
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know, but I mean, yeah, I mean, that could be true, and then it could also be true that,
They just don't know.
Yeah.
Well, no, history, I guess, you're right. History's shown that with, like, inventions. Some guy thought he invented something first, and it turns out 1,000 years ago, somebody on the other side of the world did the same thing, but, nobody cared enough.
Isn't that interesting, too, how that happens? Like, there's been, like, recorded histories of, like, certain things being invented on different parts of the world around the same time.
You think that's interesting?
I mean, it is interesting.
I mean, it is interesting, but it's not. But it's easily explained because concepts have a lot longer history than their manifestation into reality, right? First, the concepts spread around for a while, and concepts are easier to spread around than the actual like invention. You know what I mean? And so conditions become right too. So if civilization starts flourishing in this area, it's still going to affect areas far away. Right? As long as they can reach them somehow. As long as they're not on a completely different continent.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean, though. They're
but
on different fucking continents.
Is that you look into history and find out, somebody did go over there. Yeah. Somebody, there's not much of a recorded history of it, but then you find some weird tablet and you're like, this king, this is real what I'm saying, this king was banished from Egypt and he went on some crazy sea voyage and now we were able to put it together because we didn't have that piece of information for a long time. He probably fucking landed in the Americas, and that's why our pyramids look like theirs, right? The first pyramid, right, isn't a straight pyramid, it's a step pyramid. The first pyramid in all of Egypt is a step pyramid, just like all the ones in fucking South America and Mexico, right? Because some king got banished, took his shit and took his people on a boat, and fucking went to the afterlife. Right? And now the other part of the story that didn't get recorded is, the afterlife was probably reached here somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
There's the afterlife.
Whole new world.
Why would the paradise of the West and Asian things, that's where the sun sets, and that's where we live. And weirdly enough, we live in the paradise, California. We're as far as you can go west before you end up back east.
But I'm also not just talking about pyramids, though, too. I mean, like, I guess it's like, it's based on. I think it's kind of based on, like those inventions were always there. It just depends on how long a society thrives before that invention comes out. Like a
I
wheel,
believe that.
like a wheel or something,
Yeah, totally.
or like like glass or like windows or just like
So would we say
an
that if
engine
any
for a car or
society can
something
be
like that?
coherent enough for a few, however long, then they should be able to invent great weapons of their own demise,
Yeah, until they.
right?
It's the cycle. I wonder how many times it's happened. On this planet.
Probably what we think. If we, I give a little credibility to Atlantis. I don't know if it was called Atlantis or all our modern day hokum on it, but Socrates talks about it, and other people talk about it. Like there was some cool place that, and here's all they're really saying: there was a place that was around a little longer than they were.
Yeah.
And they fucked themselves up. That's all they're saying. And that's not hard to believe. Right?
Yeah, not at all.
Rome had a pretty long heyday, and then they fucked themselves up by the way that we're doing too.
Yeah.
Where eventually their whole society just became toxic, right? Just everything was toxic, right? The way they were cooking their food, the things they were using to cook their food, their toiletries, because they had plumbing, but they didn't do it very well, so they were constantly like.
There's too many of
them. So they couldn't deal with that, right? They were the first,
Didn't like Genghis Khan like destroy their aqueducts, and that's like kind of how they got all fucking.
I don't know.
I think I remember how.
But they died from but it wasn't just that. It was they were just like us, like in that Mrs. Mason chapter where I try to basically give you the hint that like for however real you want to take it, that every single thing around us is poisoning us.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's just slightly, right? Every single thing around us is poisoning us. But that's real, right? It is real, right? How much of it? Oh, who knows? But it is, and that's what the Romans did to them. That was their downfall, right? It was a nice, slow, methodical, just toxicifying themselves out of being the number one competitors, basically.
Yeah.
And they were stunting their cerebral development.
It's too short-sighted.
They were. Well, it takes 100 years for it to happen, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's like
it's hard. You know what I mean? And they don't have those people writing all the statistics as well as we have nowadays too, right? Like keeping up with the changes from year to year
And if we were older, if we lived longer as human beings, we'd probably have longer civilizations.
No, it would be. I don't know. It's a tough one.
Because most of our politicians are in it for like.
I don't know.
They don't care. Like they're like, oh, I'm gonna be dead in 10 years.
But they wouldn't seem longer. There's the weird part. They probably wouldn't seem any longer.
Yeah.
So if they live longer, like think about this. We wouldn't feel like we lived any longer, though, would we? We just feel like that was how long we lived.
Yeah, but we'd also see patterns. We'd see a lot more different patterns.
We'd see more patterns.
Yeah, and the more patterns we see, we'd see how it's actually affecting like
probably
our
if we were to
atmosphere
live longer, we would be able to be a little better humans. We'd probably say, well, we got to stretch our resources a little better.
Yeah.
And we might say, oh, I have more time to add to society and to read a book now and then. Might be able to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would probably be only if we lived longer enlightened. See what I mean? If we weren't enlightened, then living longer, here's what's funny, we'd probably live shorter. We'd probably wipe out civilization quicker. Yeah. If we weren't enlightened.
Well, I mean, that'd be like I could see how we would do that if we were like now, like, oh, our expectancy is 80, but we just upped it to 200. There'd be a gap. But if we just naturally lived to be 200 years old, it probably would be different. You know what I mean? Like.
You know what's weird? Why do I do shit like that? That's a leading. You know what's weird? I'll tell you. Only for the generation that experienced that. Oh, though they only got to live to 80, and we get to live to 200. They would appreciate that because they were aware and they knew of it. The next generations, they wouldn't even pay attention. They'd just be living a normal life.
Yeah.
Right.
It would just take
a while. It would only be that transition generation that might do more with it. If we live 200 years, we might. We would just squander 200 years the way we. So before we only lived to 30, right?
Uh-huh. And
now we live to 80. Let's say 60. Before we lived to 40, and now we live to 80. Don't look like we're doing any more. Just looks like we have more time to squander and do stupid shit with. So if we had another 100 years, I don't know if we do any more. Just invent better video games instead of my video games taking 100 hours.
That's what I'm saying. We're like already fucked. We're already fucked at this point. It doesn't matter. But I mean, if we were naturally able to live up to 200 years old, it wouldn't.
You think that would make us better?
I think it'd be different. I think we'd
it's
appreciate.
Only because right now you wish you had more time.
What?
It's only because right now you wish you had more time. That's all you're really saying. In a weird way, that's what your subconscious, I think that's what your subconscious just said. I
Of
wish I
course.
had more time right now. I wish we could live to be 200.
Yeah.
Because then I could have 100 more years to actually get shit done. How about this?
And for what?
How about this? You have a good 60, because shit starts to deteriorate maybe in your 70s.
Good 60? That's optimistic, man. 60?
You have a good 60.
That's 90.
You have a good 60.
90 years old.
No. I mean, you have till you're 60.
Oh, okay.
No. I mean, you have till you're 60. So now I just cut it in half. You're like, that's not very nice. Yeah. No, you have the good years, the good, strong, awesome years. Yeah, maybe till you're 60 something, right? Like, so you're only 31 right now.
So like I'm
It's
reborn.
all sorts of time.
I'm like reborn.
You have a whole lifetime still. Well, don't you?
Yeah.
You have a whole lifetime to deal with shit.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the problem here? Right?
Yeah.
You have a whole other life. You might as well say, I have 200 years. I have a whole other life, right?
Yeah.
But are you going to squander it the way you did the first one?
I didn't
At least
squander
now?
it. What do you
Okay,
mean?
you're right. You're right. That was a total awesome way to put it. Maybe because I want to think that we all squandered it a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely
Right?
did a bit
That
of
we all
squandering,
squandered it a
but
bit,
not the whole
right?
thing.
Like-
I definitely had motive. And shit.
That was a good call on that. That was a good-
Yeah.
And especially you, because you have it. You've done all sorts of neat stuff. And you and Liz, I don't know why I didn't assimilate this for a long time. But you guys have done some traveling and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
of course,
Like,
man.
just to do some traveling is a lot.
Well, then I guess I think a lot of that happened because of war and different like tribes and fucking cities and shit. Where like
It
it'd
was
be
a-
like, you know what I mean? Like
There is a whole unwritten phase of human history where the greatest technology, this is really, you can Google this shit, was dog warfare. Dogs. Wolves. This is pre-dog. Wolves. So you're the cavemen people, right? You have your fire, you got that far. That's the key part. You have a fire, so you cook shit and you don't use all of it and you throw shit outside, which gathers animals, right? And some of the animals, if they're smart enough, start to learn the tricks of the ancient men, right? And they know to go to the fires, right? And they know to hang out for the scraps. And that's the first level of domesticity. And then eventually they're always around anyways, so eventually one thug goes over and maybe does something, who knows what he does. Maybe it doesn't even happen that way and they just know, they never pet him like we would pet a dog, but they know how to use them, right? And they end up having their dogs be their tribe, part of their tribe, and then when they go to the tribe and attack them that doesn't have dogs, the tribe doesn't stand a chance, right? Because they got this wave of dogs getting them first.
crazy.
And we've even said, you can Google this shit, it's interesting too, right? Like the prominent chins are more prominent because they would have been an evolutionary tool to keep your throat protected from dogs ripping them apart.
Really?
Because this wouldn't have been like a 100-year phase of dog war technology. It would have been like hundreds of thousands, maybe longer years of dog warfare technology. You know what I mean? Everything took a longer time.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So it's something that we could have had a lot of time to adapt to, right?
Yeah.
Dog warfare technology. It's pretty cool. Wolf, I keep saying dog, and we didn't have dogs back then.
I never thought of that though. Like the birth of like a society would be around starts with a fire,
Right.
where it's like
It doesn't. That's because it doesn't. Everybody gets fooled on that.
It doesn't?
It's so silly. Nope. Where does the birth of society starts?
Trade.
What?
Trade. I don't know. Or
It's even cooler. What's trade based on? It has to be a mutuality for trade too.
yeah, contract. I guess.
Oh, there we go. What's a contract based on? No, I know what I'm doing here.
It's based on man's word.
Ah, words.
Yeah.
That's the primal form of all technology, all civilization, all human growth.
Yeah.
Words.
But
Started with the word. What does the Bible say? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word makes everything come into being. The Bible does it in a beautifully poetic way that people overlook too.
Yeah. They
What had to
personify it.
come first before all society, anything, even the fire, was that I had to be able to explain something to you. You had to be able to get it.
But don't you think the invention of fire would come first before that? Because it's like something that someone does, and then they have to try to like when you make something, you don't explain it to somebody until you.
This
actually
is going to sound
do
really.
it,
This is
you
going to
know?
sound really wild, like because you haven't explored enough of this shit, anthropological philosophy, I guess. But to even get there, you'd have to have the concept embodied of what fire meant, and what wood or you like. Though the words come always first, brother. There's no way for it to be the other way. You can have a concept of fire, and you keep seeing every once in a while you see lightning hits a tree, and you see this thing, and then one day a part of the tree falls down, and all of a sudden you pick it up, and now you can move the fire, and then you've now evolved your concept of fire, but you still had to have that other thing first, right? Doesn't make sense in any other way. You just put the fire, I don't know, right? Like somehow you already have the concept of what fire can do. It's warmth, all these different things, right? All these different things. It's just hard to imagine what life is like before humans knew everything they know. That's what you're, because if you start to think about that, that's the wild trip. Try and think about, ancient man. Try and think about now those same ancient men having a dream. And they wouldn't wake up and just go like, oh, that was just a dream. They'd be like, I was breathing and I was alive and I was moving just like now, except for it was all different. Yeah. And then I opened my eyes and I was laying down and I got up and it was all different. You wouldn't have the same distinctions between life and dream, right? Yeah. It was all God. It's all reality. It's all experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally,
we can't even fathom what that would be like. We can go like, wow, that'd be pretty trippy, but we can't actually have even a moment of the experience of how weird that would be. We can't, because we're so sculpted by modern day shit, by psychology and everything else.
Yeah.
Psychology, logic, everything, right?
Our surroundings entirely.
So, but try and imagine that you always had to have the concept of something before you could manipulate the concept. And if you can have the concept, the thing is, the concept is the form. So I'm into words, right? So the concept is just the words in its pre-uttered form. The concept comes before the word. The word does not come before the concept, but the concept is the word. I don't know how much of this is making sense to you.
Yeah.
The concept is the word, though. But the concept comes first.
The concept is the objective word, I guess, right? Like it'd be like the concept brought out.
What'd you say?
Like, it's like I guess I said objective word, but that doesn't make sense.
That's what threw me off. Okay.
Yeah, because it's put into reality through action. It's put into reality through action.
The concept is the most objective thing because it's just going on experience, right? So but I'm not sure if that's what you were meaning.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like the concept can be done without words, but what's making those actions happen are the words. But it's
the concept.
I don't know. I can't.
No, that was good. This is tough. You were trying to say the concepts happen before the words, or something, or the concepts happen.
Well, to
me, they're just part of the same dial, right? So on level 1, the concept is just pretty much concept. By level 2, you've started to associate things with that concept, right? By level 3 now, because you need to make an association, I'm trying to make an association between one thing and another, you have to also then now say that it doesn't hold for everything else. So now everything else has different associations. So distinguish, I hope you're following me, this is cool shit. I'm having fun with this right now. To distinguish between all the different associations, you start to make utterances or whatever they are, right? Marks, something to mark it as this and not that.
Yeah, excluding.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.